Hello, Brandon here with Minnesota Blockchain Initiative. This is the MN Blockchain Conversations podcast from the Quantum Lex studio in Minneapolis. Today we spoke with an articulate, technological, and practical entrepreneur, Colin Hirdman, a serial entrepreneur whose latest company offers a very useful service blending social media and AI for businesses. Born and raised here in the Twin Cities, his is a terrific homegrown story of a tech entrepreneurial pro offering local service to folks all over the country. We also engaged in some terrific eye-opening conversation about entrepreneurship, as well as this new technological world we're now in. Enjoy.
Hey man, good to have you here.
I'm really happy to be here, Brandon. I'm super excited about the convo. I'm excited about the space. I'm excited about what we're doing with MN Blockchain. So thanks for inviting me on.
Well, besides being a long supporter, board member for 3 years or so.
Yep, coming up on 3 years.
The work you've been doing outside of MN Blockchain, or at least it does connect with MN Blockchain, because the social media and the AI marketing, those are like the two, like the intersection of those, and to the benefit of MN Blockchain and a lot of your clients now. And this has been a pretty new endeavor of yours, at least professionally, at least where you've done it now. You know, it's not just something you do on the side. It's a
business.
It's a business, yeah. So I want to talk about this stuff because you know a lot more about it. I think from like a numbers standpoint, like I'm generally aware of, you know, how a post can do well on social media and whatever. But but your the way you've dug into LinkedIn specifically, and now integrated AI into that, or at least in addition to that. Has really gotten me thinking, and we were talking about this, and I just said, well, let's just talk about this.
Yeah, we're going to come up with some good ideas, even in this convo, on how we can use, especially the AI component.
That is cool.
Yeah,
and that's right, because everything is so new that any given conversation you have with someone probably produces something fresh.
Oh, absolutely. And what I want more than anything else is, you know, the people listening to this, especially, you know, founders, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business owners. I want them to really understand how important it is that they start to use AI in some of the ways that we're talking about, because it's going to be fundamental, I think, to a lot of their sustainability over especially the mid to long term.
Do you think if you don't use, well, I'm going to hold that question. Go ahead and maybe let people know what you do. And then I'll get into the question I was going to ask.
No, that sounds great. And also, you know, what I also hope to do is inspire some aspiring entrepreneurs to, you know, get started.
Yeah.
Begin becoming that entrepreneur that you may envision yourself.
In general.
Yeah. The world needs more entrepreneurs. We need more creativity. We need more builders. And whether that's in the AI space or the blockchain space, or whether you're going to open up a corner store doing something, like the world needs more entrepreneurs. It's just an innately creative endeavor that I think, you know, not enough people get exposed to as a real option for how they could live their professional life.
Sure.
So, and I could certainly just start with my own entrepreneurial journey.
Please.
Which I think will at least let those aspiring entrepreneurs know you don't have to be born into like an entrepreneurial mindset. I certainly wasn't. You know, I grew up here in the Twin Cities, went to, you know, public schools, ended up going to University of Minnesota for a year, left that to go to Gustavus, finished up my college degree there. But, you know, I was going through probably halfway through my junior year. And I said to my dad, I have no idea what I want to do. I should just drop out and join the Marines like you did. And he said, Colin, you don't need the discipline like the way that I needed it. Just finish your 4-year degree and then see where that takes you. So another year goes by. I'm at his 50th birthday party, and I meet a guy there. And a few weeks later, my dad reaches out and said, hey, you know, Mike and I are wondering if you would maybe want to jump into a business. I'm like, well, I'm halfway through my senior year, graduating with a criminal justice degree. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. And entrepreneurship, starting a business, sounds kind of fun. And so I chatted with him.
That wasn't something your dad had been doing?
No, my dad was not an entrepreneur. Nope, he's got his PhD in psychology. So both my parents are psychologists. So very, very different. And so we started, I a week after I graduated from Gustavus, we started a company. Now, I was really kind of taking on the main role because this other gentleman, he already had his own small IT company. And so we got a small business loan. And I put my assets on there as a 22-year-old fresh out of college, which was a TV, a boombox, and a Super Nintendo. Those were my assets.
You listed them on the loan?
We joked about it, and then we actually put it on there because we thought it would be funny.
Did it move the needle?
Well, we got the loan, but I'm sure it's only because of Mike and my dad. But I ended up buying like my first like mailing machine. We started off doing direct mail data processing. I had no idea what this was about.
What is it about?
Really, companies that want to send out direct mail, like junk mail, they would use a mailing house to do that. And when you pre-sort the mail, you get a discount at the post office. You don't pay as much in postage.
Okay.
So you'd bring it to a company like we were building.
Wow, that was a niche.
Yeah, very, very much a niche. So I learned all about that industry, and I grew the company, and I learned everything about business like on the fly, just doing it.
Were you able to? I've been interested in this when I see entrepreneurs take on a real obscure, I mean, that's a very everyday one, but it's still one that most people don't even consider.
Right.
So in a sense, it's obscure. Mm-hmm. But I'll see entrepreneurs in a really specific, which is often how you have to do it because everything is so specialized, whether it's med tech or, marketing. Mm-hmm. And I ask, like, are they really that interested in this little piece of plastic that they're making for this, for Procter and Gamble or whoever the large company they're making it for? Or, like a friend of mine is his family owns Hiawatha Rubber, and they make all these little rubber components for like printers and stuff. And I ask, are these entrepreneurs really interested in like how to shape rubber?
Right.
Like, is it really their passion? And I don't think it is. I think they learn. You tell me, but I think they learn it because they're passionate about building a business and being of service and winning a good contract and providing for their families. And so this is how we're going to do that.
That's right. Yeah. No, I think the idea, like if you have a passion, like a real deep passion for something, and you're able to build a business around that, number one, you're really lucky. Number two, that's pretty rare. Most businesses aren't necessarily like a passion play. Hopefully you have at least some interest in it. And for that first company, I had interest, I think, in learning what business was all about.
Yeah.
Growing a business, having employees, doing finances, marketing, all the things that come with, owning a business. But I think what keeps you in the game more longevity is truly having an interest in what it is that the business does. And that kind of came to a head for me after about a decade of having that company. I was ready to be done, ready for my next venture. And so we ended up selling that company about a decade after we started it. And that just naturally led to starting Monkey Island Ventures with two childhood buddies of mine, Josh Becerra and Zach Steven. We all grew up together in St. Paul, kind of over by the State Fairgrounds. And Monkey Island's named after a park we used to play on when we were kids, located in St. Paul. And so the three of us really... Josh was moving back from Uruguay, or half his dad's side of the family was from. He had been down there for over a decade and was moving back to raise his family here in St. Paul. And Zach was helping a children's publishing company transition into a sale. So he's kind of working himself out of a job. So in 2006, we started chatting, and in 2007, we started Monkey Island Ventures and started building businesses out of that umbrella company. Most of them being kind of SaaS-based companies that ended up growing into a digital marketing company that we have now, Agurian, and a software development company, Cloudburst, that we have now. We have about 40 employees between the two of those companies. And then the last 2 years, I've been just working on a couple of these startup ideas that we can get more in depth on. But that's really been my entrepreneurial journey, is that first company, having that for about a decade and really learning a lot about business, and then more kind of the startup-y side in starting more kind of tech-forward businesses. But I would say that one of the things that kind of harking back to your question about, being an entrepreneur and the kind of business you get into, I think there was a time after owning that first business that I wanted to start, kind of net new businesses that didn't really have any competitors, and we're going to create new markets and all these things. And that's incredibly hard. I mean, most of those businesses failed. And a lot of times...
The 0 to 1 idea.
Yeah, where, kind of taking the blue ocean, red ocean strategy where, red ocean, it's a known industry, a known business. You have competitors. There's lots of competition versus blue ocean where you're going into an area where you have very little competitors. But the problem with that blue ocean strategy sometimes is that you're also creating something that there hasn't been shown a demand for, and you're building a business around something that there might really not be a market need for that. And that's what incredibly frustrating is, having a business that's not generating revenue, isn't getting traction. And there's plenty of books in like the Mom Test where you can read about having an idea, talking to your prospects, starting to understand what is it, what kinds of pain are they feeling, and then how do you address that pain through business model that you would build around that. So we don't have to spend any time on that. But what I would say is that if you want to be an entrepreneur, kind of started going down that path, being entrepreneurial and starting around like a service-based business that you could start charging for your time, charging for services right away, especially around something that is a little bit of a known commodity at minimum, but even potentially that there's a decent amount of competition out there. Like, at least there's a market. You could start to pick out like a niche and start servicing that niche. And so I think a lot of entrepreneurs get just too much caught up in the grandiosity of what it could be to be an entrepreneur versus just starting to build a business, start generating revenue, start satisfying your customers, and start generating all the things that create a viable business, and that kind of will give you those tailwinds to really grow it or to start doing other things as well.
Do you think some people get the wrong idea, or at least they get it kind of backward? They imagine having the label founder, business owner, president, whatever that title might be, and they get kind of like, they think big. They think like ego, right? Like, oh wow, yeah, I'm a founder,
right?
I'm a CEO, and that gets ahead of, look, what that means is, this, all of this grunt work, all of this grinding, and that people who are more successful entrepreneurs are those who actually embrace the grinding, embrace the grunt work when need be, and the CEO label and the founder label just. That comes, but that's not like the end all and the be all kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, you could go to any number of, startup founder events, and there's lots of quote unquote founders that haven't really built anything, or they're building it in ways where they're not doing a lot of the hard things. I mean, you're going to face a lot of rejection, and going out and just trying to get your first customers is a lift, and it's not necessarily always the most fun thing when you're going out there and just not getting the kind of reception that you'd hope you'd get. So I think, very much entrepreneurship can be glorified in ways, rightfully so, but in other ways where unless you're actually out there doing the hard work, the heavy lifting of starting to, you're pushing that boulder up the hill, you need to really be dedicated, and you're going to fail a lot. That's just part of it.
I'll have you move your mic a little bit closer, just so we're equal.
Yeah.
A little bit closer even.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you really want it right up.
Okay.
It's kind of like when you're, at least I remember thinking this when I was a kid, like, oh, I want to be the parent, you can just tell your kids what to do, or I want to be the supervisor. Or if I was like, I had 4 other siblings, so like if we were all working on something, let's say we got a load of gravel and we were spreading it out in our driveway or something, one of us wasn't working, and Dad would be like, hey, what are you, and then the kid would jokingly say, I'm supervising. In other words, to be the boss means you don't have to do anything. And maybe it's that kind of childish idea that when you're the boss, you tell others what to do, and you don't have to do anything yourself. You have the responsibility for the outcome, but you still don't have to put in the you don't have to bust your hump and do all that. But that's not the case, especially for a startup. right? Where
Right.
you have nothing, you're doing
everything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, and even when it gets to a point of starting to bring on, part-time employees, full-time employees, I remember one of the things that I was at this CEO conference, one of the CEOs said, you're always on stage. Right, your employees are always looking at direction on how to behave and what's acceptable, what isn't, and if you're also responsible, I think in a lot of ways it's about being able to give your employees enough freedom and responsibility to thrive and to grow in the roles that they're given.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to micromanage; that's not good.
Right.
But at the same time, as you said, like at the end of the day, it really all falls on your shoulders in terms of the success of the company, and you need to make good decisions, hire good people. You need to, continue to evolve and grow, and that's just a nonstop, effort. Because in the business world, like things are continually evolving. It's almost impossible to leave your work at home. It's just with you all the time, and those are just some of the burdens that you have to bear. But at the same time, again, at that same CEO conference, I was in my early 20s when I went. There was another CEO that would take companies from like 20 million to 50 million in revenue, and then he would hand it off to a CEO that would typically go like 50 million to 200 million, whatever it was. And, he talked about risk, and, he's not telling anyone to take, risk that they couldn't possibly tolerate. But at the same time, he's saying in his eyes, starting a business and growing it always seemed like a safer path, because if you were to start losing customers, if your business is doing things wrong, you're usually not going to lose all of those customers all at once. You're going to see, things start to decline, where that should give you time to start making changes and hopefully right the ship, versus you go get a job and work for somebody else. They could hire you one day and fire you the next, right? So you have no control over your destiny in terms of like risk. You could lose your job, any day. So that was just one of the interesting things that I think kept me grounded. And I think more than anything else, it's also, a question of, toward the end of your life, at least for me, it's looking back and saying, did I take risks? Did I do things that I can look back on? And if I failed, would I still be okay with failing at it as long as I'd given it a try? And I think for me, that the kind of the specter of death and not having lived a life as fully as I possibly could always drove me through risk that might have stopped me. But when I kind of put it in that lens, just like, well, what's really the worst that could happen here? And that usually allows me to move forward and do the hard things.
Did it allow you to be reckless?
Sometimes, but I think when it pertains to business decisions, very few business decisions you make are going to be absolutely catastrophic to the business that it won't be able to recover. Most you can. So I think, the term like reckless, I remember when in 2008, after the housing market crashed, I had started running numbers on buying duplexes here in the Twin Cities, and the numbers looked really good. And so I went to my dad. I said, hey, let's take out the home equity lines on both our homes and start buying some real estate. And, my wife was like, okay, like that sounds good. Like, I trust you. My mom was like, you guys are going to lose it all. It's not going to go well. All I've ever heard are horror stories and all this, right? But we did it. She acquiesced, and we ended up doing that. And so we ended up buying, properties, duplexes, triplexes, et cetera, here in the Twin Cities. And over the years, slowly moved into like better neighborhoods and better properties. And then in 2021, one of our companies had started to buy like Bitcoin in a year and a half before 21. So somewhere in 2019, we started to buy it and kind of put it on our balance sheet. And then in 21, we had to refinance all our properties. So number one, we got really lucky. It was 21. We refinanced them all around like 3.5%. But then we took like 80% of the money we took out of them and put like half in Bitcoin and half in ETH. And so like a month after we did that, we were like, we're genius. We're so smart. And then everything started to crash, and we just have ridden the bear market into hopefully the new bull. But some would say that's reckless, right? But I think a lot of it for me, I had been doing just since 2019, just engaging, in about probably 2 hours of blockchain information a day, listening to it. Like, it totally overtook. I used to listen to a lot of sports talk, and it just totally overtook all the sports talk, and I just find the industry absolutely fascinating. And so, some would look at that as being reckless, but I had done my homework, right? I had done that kind of calculus on what do I really think is going to happen, how much could I, afford to put in, and what do I, how would I feel about things going one way versus another? And I think a lot of it too, though, is also based kind of in the ethos of what you believe, very much kind of that, independent, being able to strive for maximum potential, really putting yourself to the test, hopefully building great things. That kind of falls in that entrepreneurial bucket. I think there's also kind of a little bit of a libertarian perspective that falls into that, as well as I think within blockchain and those kinds of things were just have always been things that kind of just pulled me in and grabbed my attention, and I don't see that waning anytime soon.
Did it also benefit you that you started with the direct mailing company with your dad and uncle, was it?
No, not my uncle, no, just a friend of his.
Okay, got it. And that was just a one-shot deal that took off. So you already, beat the odds with that, it looks like, in that it was successful for a while and you sold it. Like, that's actually kind of rare, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Most small businesses don't make it, that kind of thing.
No, that's true. I mean, I certainly didn't sell it for life-changing money, but I sold it.
Yeah, it supported you and your family if you had kids at that time for up to a decade.
Yeah, didn't have kids at the time.
Okay.
Yep. So that was another. My two business partners, Josh and Zach, had kids. Their kids are all about 8 to 10 years older than mine.
Okay.
So that's true. I think timing makes a big difference. I ended up having kids later in life, but had I had kids, I might not have been able to take that risk to go into Monkey Island Ventures and to start doing digital marketing as a service and growing that into an actual company if I had kids.
But that strikes me as unique, and maybe it's not, so correct me if I'm wrong, that you got together with a couple of entrepreneurial friends and said, hey, let's start some businesses. And you kind of is this correct? You kind of took a shotgun approach, or you brainstormed a bunch of ideas and then tried a few and see what stuck. Most entrepreneurs, I believe, again, correct me if I'm wrong, they're going to have an idea for a business, they're going to open it, they're going to start it, and we'll see. But if you start a couple, now it spreads yourself a little bit, but you're working with two others. So my question is about that group approach, the collaborative approach, and the multi-business simultaneous approach. Yeah,
I mean, in my mind, it seems like more often, when we first started and kicked Monkey Island Ventures off in 2007, the first product was Buy the Change, which was almost like a mashup of, think about like Craigslist and MySpace, right, or Facebook.
Okay.
And all three of us were working on that together. We raised, did a friends and family round and raised money to build that product, and spent, almost 3 years working on that together, and ended up having to shut it down. And then, ended up creating a couple other products right after that also kind of, one took off well, but then we had to submarine it. And another one took off, went viral on Twitter. It's actually a trending topic on Twitter, but ended up just, the cycle just naturally kind of came down and wasn't a sustainable business model. But all that is to say is that, Josh and Zach ended up having to go get full-time jobs to support their family. I was living off of the payments that I was getting for the sale of my first company, which weren't a lot of money, but it allowed me to start doing digital marketing, and I started spinning up that as a service. That got big enough to bring in Josh and then Zach, and what Zach wanted to do was to start a software development company. So Josh and I were in the digital marketing company, then Zach started the software development company, and then those two companies have really kind of taken a life on their own.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean there weren't some really hard times. And I think the ideal scenario would have been the three of us working just in one thing and really have grown that. But that just happened to not be the case. But diversification is a protection as well, right? Like people talk about having mutual funds and maybe having some crypto, having, your income, maybe having some real estate. Like being diversified also just helps protect you as well.
Yeah.
And I think we were able to go through, some hard times over the last few years because of the diversification of those businesses.
Well, let's talk now about your current. You said the past 2 years you've been building up. So talk about how that evolved and what we're talking about here.
Yeah, for sure. So I'd say about a year and a half ago, I had an idea to start a productized service helping companies grow their network leads and sales using LinkedIn. So I'd been doing LinkedIn growth hacking for probably about 7 years for our own products and services. Okay. And I went to Josh and Zach and said, I think I could build a real company off of doing these services and off of the software and process I built out. So they said, okay, go for it. So
you built software?
Yep. So we got a software and then a process that I've used for myself that is really on the back end. So my clients interact with me. They interact with, some of the processes that I put in place. But the software and what it's doing just works kind of behind the scenes. Okay. And kind of the base process, and I would recommend this for anybody that is wanting to scale their business using LinkedIn, is the number one thing you want to do is continue to grow out your first degree network. Okay, so when I can use MN Blockchain as an example for this, where, I went into LinkedIn and I wanted to find everybody in Minnesota that had crypto or Bitcoin or blockchain in their profile, and then I would reach out to connect with them. And so I've connected with over 1,000 people here in the state, and what I was doing was reaching out to around 125 people a week and trying to just connect with them.
And this was made possible by your software?
You can do it manually. You don't have to use something like Rainmaker, but you can. I'm just using regular LinkedIn functions. I'm not doing anything outside of LinkedIn. So the whole process happens within LinkedIn.
So you're not like building off of the LinkedIn API or something like that.
Nope.
You're doing what anyone could do in the search bar of LinkedIn.
Yep, yeah. Exactly. Yes. Okay. Yep. So the main thing is you want to just start identifying the kinds of people that you want to be connected to for whatever reason. So if it's a business, you want to start connecting with prospects. But when you're going into it, you have to, and I think this is true across all social media, but especially with LinkedIn, you have to adopt this mindset, which is number one, being authentic and genuine, especially with AI. People just do not want to interact with bots. They want you to be the real you. The second thing is leaning in with an educational mindset, because nobody wants to be sold on LinkedIn. People want to be educated on LinkedIn. And then the final thing is, it's up to you as the founder, or if you're sitting in a sales or a marketing seat, it's up to you. It's your responsibility to understand what is it that your prospects are having pain with. What are the pains and barriers that they're trying to overcome? And then what is it you could educate them on? What is it that they could learn from you? What can you teach? And I think we've seen that with MN Blockchain a lot too, right? The people are coming in and they're teaching the audience. Like that's what's bringing the people together. That's what helping build community. And for any for-profit, that's what you can do as well. You have a specific, level of expertise that your prospects don't have, and leveraging that expertise in a way that's helping them understand, how they can overcome some of the pains and barriers that they're experiencing is really where the benefit is, especially on LinkedIn being really the one and only business social network out there. So that's really the mindset you have to adopt. Being authentic and genuine, really, approaching with an educational mindset, and finally figuring out what it is your audience can learn from you. What can you teach?
Can you do that with LinkedIn pages, businesses?
So pages do not have the same level of functionality that individuals do. LinkedIn is still very much trying to push people first. So like you can't go out and like start reaching out to connect with people. Okay. But once you create a first degree connection with someone, you can invite them to go and follow your company page or your organization page. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
How do you blend authenticity with automation? You know what I'm asking?
Yep, for sure. So if we're kind of looking at 3 layers, that top layer is that mindset that I talked about. That second layer then is identifying the audience that you want to connect with. And then that third layer, the bottom layer, is activating that audience. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is start connecting, right? Building out more first degree connections. Yeah. When you are building out those kinds of first degree connections, you don't include a connection message. You're just reaching out to connect. Okay. So it'll just say, Colin Hirdman is, wanting to connect, right? But there's no message.
Because
there.
If you had a message, it would be canned.
Yep. It just feels kind of canned or spammy. So the data absolutely proves it out, both in what I've seen and what I've seen other people post, is that don't use a connection message when you're doing that type of outreach to build out first connections. Now, if you met somebody at an event or it's a referral, or something, yes, of course, use a connection message.
Yeah.
So then, and then if somebody doesn't connect with you within 30 days, then you want to withdraw the invite. Okay. Then there's a 3-week period of time where you can't re-invite them. But after those 3 weeks are up, you could re-invite them again at a later date.
I see.
So that's just good hygiene. And again, you can do this in your own LinkedIn account.
Yeah.
Anybody can do any of these things that we're talking about. So foundationally, you want to connect with 100, 125 people a week. Reach out to connect. You're probably going to get around a 20-25% connection rate back on average. Could be higher depending on the audience and how many second degree connections you have. Could be lower depending on that, as well as depending on certain industries. Just don't connect, like dentists, chiropractors, owners of manufacturing businesses. I've seen those connect at a lower rate. But that's foundationally is just building out more first degree connections, because what that allows is then any of the other activities you're doing, you get to draw from a larger pool of people that's ever growing. And so one of the main campaign types would be like sending out connection messages after somebody's connected with you. 1 to 3 days after that, just sending like a thanks for connecting message, right? Something short, very authentic. That's just saying like.
But that would be automated.
That would be automated. Just like, hey, thanks so much for connecting, and anything else you might want to say. But absolutely don't sell. Don't even try and help on that first message. And then the second message and beyond is where you really need to know the pains and barriers your prospects are trying to overcome, and then using messages to assist with that, right? So for MN blockchain, I would make these new first connections. I'd tell them thanks for connecting, and then I would send out like a message directing them to like the MN blockchain website, right? Where they could go and learn more about the org. They could go and sign up for the newsletter, etc. So that's one, is using messages in an automated way where you're really providing a lot of value. And that could be an asset that you built. That could be something you posted as a LinkedIn article. It could be something that lives on your website.
Through your individual account,
exactly.
Not through your business page.
Right. No, Yep, exactly. As an individual. Yep. So that's one. And then there's 2 other campaign types that you could also run that I run fairly often. One are LinkedIn polls. So anybody can spin up a poll. Mm-hmm. Those are really fun, where you can spin the poll up. You can have people respond to it. You could even, invite specific people through direct messages of, inviting them to go participate in the poll. And so that's a great way to put something out there, get some feedback from your audience, and then you could distill down then the results and actually create a narrative and use that for posts. Use that to reach back out to everybody that participated in the poll, things like that. So then the last one, and this is one we do fairly frequently for MN Blockchain, are live streams. And what I have done for Rainmaker, the productized service, is I created one that's kind of an evergreen topic, which is learn how to grow your network leads and sales using LinkedIn. It's essentially the exact same topic every time I do it, with pretty much the same deck. I created the deck about a year and a half ago, and I've just made, improvements, small improvements to the deck, over time. So it's certainly changed, but it doesn't take a lot of my time updating the deck. And the beauty of that strategy is I'm reaching out to invite people to come and learn from me. And I've broken out my audience to like founders, sales executives, business coaches, EOS implementers, and fractionals. Those are like 5 verticals that I've built out with First Connections over the last year and a half. And I'll invite each one of those verticals to one of the week's live stream events. I'll even say on the event for founders or for fractionals or for sales executives. So then they feel that the event is made just for them. And the topic is also compelling. And I'm usually getting anywhere from, 40 to 100 people registering every week. And it's a great way for me to have repeatable content that is really interesting to my audience. And that my audience, I've seen some people, they'll sign up like 4 or 5 times for the exact same live stream. Sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't, which is fine. But because the topic is interesting and it's kind of evergreen, I can keep inviting people to it, and people will keep attending it. And because I'm growing out my First Degree Network, new people are always getting invited and things like that. So, and then the other thing that's really great about LinkedIn events, and one of the event types is live streams, is that you're using the LinkedIn event invite function. So people are getting invited, but it comes in as an alert. It doesn't come in as a direct message.
Sure.
So you're not burning your audience out, right? So it's a great way for you to continually reuse this as a strategy that doesn't come across as spammy in any way. It's just a way of continuing to provide education to your audience. So I created a second live stream called Learn How to do LinkedIn live streams, where I'm teaching people actually the whole process of doing live streams using LinkedIn.
Yeah,
so those are the 2 main ones that I'm doing. But really the beauty, and this is true for organizations like MN Blockchain, but it's really true for like for-profit, where you're wanting to push people through your pipeline, down your funnel, which is after the event is over, you know who attended or registered for the event. You don't know who actually watched the event. LinkedIn doesn't give you that info. But let's say I get 50 people to register. I know who those 50 people are. I know their name, their company, everything about them, because I can see it in the attendee list in my LinkedIn event. Well, then after the event is over, I will follow up with a message to all 50 of those attendees saying like, hey, Brandon, thanks again for registering for the LinkedIn live stream I led. Here's a link to the recording, right? And the recording lives on the event page forever. And then underneath you get a call to action. And mine will typically be like, if you ever want to chat LinkedIn strategy, feel free to grab some time convenient for you here. And I give them my Calendly link to book a one-on-one. The beauty of that is because they've crossed this threshold of now, when they've clicked attend on your event, they trust you enough to press the attend button. They trust your company enough to press attend. They believe the topic that you're presenting on is interesting enough that they're pressing attend. That when you follow up with a message, like I said, and you even give a Calendly, it doesn't come across as spammy or salesy or icky in any way. It's just a natural next step those people would take if they found your content really compelling.
And you've been able to replicate this with clients?
Yep. And that's one of the things I really push a lot of my clients to do, is to like try and get into the live stream process where you have, a topic that you're presenting on at least once a month, if not a couple of times a month, to this, the same topic, or maybe if you want to bring in a second topic, that's fine. But for sure, at least one topic that you can keep reaching out to multiple audiences on and inviting them to, and just keep doing that over and over and over again, because it takes almost none of your time other than doing the actual live stream. You get incredibly good at talking about what it is that you present in the live stream. So you can use it if you're doing a podcast like we're doing now. You could use it when you're meeting people at networking events. So it's just a wonderful way to hone your message and what it is that you do, but doing it through an educational lens that really puts you really very strongly in the position of being a thought leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's exactly what we've done with, the events with MN Blockchain as well, is, sending out the invites to those 1,000 people, getting people there that didn't know about the event. I'm usually sending like a DM message to make sure people know that the event, is happening. I don't mind doing it for MN Blockchain. I don't do it for any of my for-profit companies, but because MN Blockchain is a nonprofit, I don't mind sending that message, trying to get them to come to one of our events.
That's from your personal account.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are some of your clients shy about, like, they want to grow their LinkedIn network, they want to eventually turn some of those into leads, build their network, build their business, build their service, and then you tell them about live streams, and they're like, because that's live performance, or now the spotlight's on them,
right?
Stage fright, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've had some clients that are able to cross that threshold and do it well. I would say more often than not, people are a little bit, have a little bit of trepidation in doing it. There's a little bit of fear there. There was for me too. Do you really want to grow your company? Do you really want to start to engage in?
Do you believe in this?
In activities that are preaching, a big mind shift change that actually is an easier mind shift change to make, which is, I was talking to a sales guy, and he would ask this question to an audience of founders or salespeople, whatever. He says, especially for people that aren't like hardcore salespeople, he'll say, like, how many of you like to sell? And there might be like one hand that goes up if it's a room of like founders, right? And he says, how many of you like to educate? And pretty much the entire audience hands go up, right? So I think that mind shift into educating versus selling gets you over that hump of you're teaching, you're bringing value, you're not selling. Like these live streams, you need to get over the fact that you're live and that people could pose questions, and that you could kind of screw up a little bit while you're going through your deck, but most people just they don't care. The benefits far outweigh any of the.
Everyone's on camera nowadays.
No, it's very natural, and the benefit too when you get done with the live stream is you could take that video and you could give it to somebody or yourself and cut it up into snippets.
Watch yourself.
Yep. You could you could break it up into like 30-second snippets that you could post on LinkedIn or on other social media channels that you're utilizing. So it's great. And then live streams also give you some interactivity with a live audience where they have questions, comments, things like that that come in
from
written
anywhere.
From anywhere.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And the last thing I'll say too, just about LinkedIn, is that LinkedIn loves live streams. It wants more people doing live streams because video keeps people on LinkedIn longer. You get about 24 times more engagement on a live stream than you do any other type of LinkedIn content.
Wow.
And LinkedIn will send out reminders about the event happening. You asked me that through Slack like a week or two ago, and they'll send you out reminders about the event happening via email. LinkedIn will also send out notifications to people in your first degree network that you didn't even invite to the event. It'll say Colin Hirdman was recently live with the name of my live stream to my first degree connections that I never even invited, right? So there's a lot of benefit to doing live streams because LinkedIn wants more people doing them.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, how is the business going? Like how many clients, how many companies do you work with or individuals do you work with now?
Well, so Rainmaker isn't super scalable. I'm pretty much maxed out. I have around, I think, 25, 30 clients, somewhere in that range. And I don't really want to grow it too much more from there. But the AI startup that we're getting into now is the one that I definitely want to scale up.
I'm curious too about your, the fact that you're diversified. Do you still have some of those properties?
Yes.
And you and your friends still have the software and the marketing company.
Yep. Agrarian.
So if you just did Rainmaker and you had your 25 clients, would you be able to support your lifestyle?
Yeah.
It does pay. It has been a sustainable income.
Yep. If again, I'd say about half my time's in Rainmaker, and the other half of my time now is in Wrapped, this new product that we're launching.
We'll get to that next. Yeah.
But yes, if I was full time in Rainmaker, then yeah, I would easily be able to support myself and contribute.
That's encouraging.
Back.
That's encouraging because that's what I was hoping you would say, because I think people listening might be thinking what I was thinking a moment ago, which is, well, yeah, you can do that because you've got rental income and this and that, and you're saying, well, if I didn't have that, I'd still be able to make it with this. Like, this is a independent entrepreneurial effort that would support a family.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, in like 10 or 11 months, I was able to get it to like a baseline around like 10K MRR, monthly recurring revenue.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, with very little expenses.
Yeah.
It's just mostly my time.
Yeah.
And then some of my hosting fees.
Boy, this is where people tend to be a little negative, right? When it comes to new technology. I mean, there's excitement, but there's also cynicism. Like, whatever, cryptocurrency is, just for scammers, or the internet just a place to bully people and anonymous trolls. And now with AI, it's just going to take away jobs from artists. But that's a great example of how, beyond the ones we've already acknowledged, whether it's a YouTuber or a Etsy, they make arts and crafts and they sell them to anyone around the world, So we've seen these solopreneurs take off online, maybe even the gig economy, and you can be an Uber driver with your car and make money. But that's another example of where the internet is really manifesting new kinds of entrepreneurs with low investment.
Yeah,
Time
I think
is the biggest investment, it sounds like, and a minimum amount of equipment.
Right. I think I think behind every entrepreneur too is their story, and you got to remember, I'd been doing LinkedIn growth hacking for myself for almost 7 years. So I had already kind of perfected a methodology for myself and our companies, and then I just ended up spending time, doing really sales and marketing on it to go from zero to getting it to be a viable business. But that was a lot of reaching out to my network, going to networking events, doing a bunch of podcasts. I'd never done podcasts until early last year, and I just jumped onto Podmatch and I started doing podcasts. And so some of the
Well, yeah, you're a real doer.
Yeah. Well, part of it is if you're not selling, then where's revenue coming from?
Yeah. I think a lot of people make excuses to not do the things they really have an inkling to do.
Yep, agreed. I heard this, I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about how Steve Jobs would talk about like signal to noise. And I actually have really focused in on this in the last couple of weeks since I heard it. I'd heard it before, but really that signal to noise, which is what are the 2 or 3 things you have to get done today? Like no matter what else comes up, like those things have to happen today. Again, if a customer client thing comes up, that might take priority over those items. But like other than that, like what are the things you have to get done? Because we're getting flooded with all these other things. That's really the noise, right? So I think the mark of really good entrepreneurs is that signal to noise. So that's something to really be aware of.
I started my day with a lot of noise on Twitter. That's a noise machine. That's a noisemaker there.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yep. No,
and what sucks about it is how the noise can suck you in. Like, okay, it's noise, so why are you still on it? I don't know.
I know.
Why don't you get off? Something's sucking me in.
Yeah. No, but it just happened to me just the other day when I was on Twitter and I was on it reading it. I'm just like, I can't. And then I can't take it anymore. Just swipe up, close the app. And it's just like immediate disconnect from Twitter. Like you just come down almost just immediately off of like whatever that high is, which doesn't, it's not a lot of times it's not a good feeling high either. It's just kind of noise and can be negative. Yeah.
Well, let's now discuss Wrapped.
Yeah, so that one came out of so with Rainmaker, I was encountering some pain points where my customers would say, "Here's my messages. What do you think?" And I'm just like, ugh. those are kind of salesy. It's not really in the format I would do. They're too long. And so I ended up
these were like posts they were going to put out there?
messages that I was going to send through their account to their new first connections.
Oh, messages.
Messages.
Not posts.
Not posts.
Okay.
Messages. Yep. And so I ended up going into ChatGPT, and I'm paying the $20 a month, and I ended up creating my own custom GPT around how to do messages when you're working with me in Rainmaker. And so I built out all these instructions within the custom GPT, which the first thing when somebody jumps into the GPT is it says, Rainmaker believes in this ethos around, authenticity, education, not being salesy, and it forces the person to agree to that. If they don't agree to that ethos, then it won't let them continue to go build out their messages, right? So once they finally agree, hopefully it's right away, then it moves them on to the next step, which is introducing them. We're going to build 2+ messages for you now. The first message is going to be a thanks for connecting message. The second message is where you got to start providing real value. And then it will help them walk through building out that first message using all of the instructions that I put in about it not being salesy, about having it be, short, having it, be ideally, the first one not salesy or helping in any way. The second one needs to bring some real value, etc. And so what ended up happening is my clients would use this GPT. The GPT would be pushing back on bad messages. The GPT would be ensuring that their messages.
So the GPT might say, let's make this a little more personable.
Exactly.
Okay.
Literally in that type of a voice. Yeah.
Wow.
Like that's a good start, but it coming across as a little too salesy.
So
like
GPT, it can detect tone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm using OpenAI, right? I'm using ChatGPT.
Yeah, I'm just getting a vibe for the AI capability, and I guess I'm not that surprised because I know on X with Grok, you can have it be snarky, you can have it be whatever, unfiltered. You can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't put so much into the actual personality. It was more around like the do's and don'ts.
Sure.
Yep. So anyway, I built that custom GPT for messages. Well, then I built another one for LinkedIn polls, and then I built another one for LinkedIn live streams. So I built 3 different GPTs for those 3 efforts.
See, and when you told me this is what really opened my eyes to the potential here, at least to this particular potential. I didn't know you could customize ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering why you would do that, and you were filling me in like, well, it kind of narrows the parameters, and it helps shape and direct the creator in the way in which they want to go.
Exactly.
You want them to go.
Right.
They ultimately want to go.
Yep.
To follow your lead.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And so
if you just had them go to ChatGPT's main screen, it wouldn't direct them it wouldn't coach them. It wouldn't direct them in the correct way.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you none of the AIs out there would guide someone in how to use LinkedIn in the way that I do. Because I have been like honing this very niche area of expertise and this very specific process in a way that works. It doesn't mean that ChatGPT generally, or one of these AIs, couldn't generally like help you build out some messages, but it wouldn't be in a structured campaign and use it in the way that I use it. Or even just thinking about live streams and like thinking about like an evergreen topic, reaching out and starting to build audiences across different verticals.
You know the prompts, they don't.
So anyway.
And it's pre-prompted.
Right.
You could say it's pre-prompted.
Yeah, I mean the AI is using its knowledge base, but it's doing it through the lens of Rainmaker when it's through those.
So
those
is it white
GPTs.
label? Does it say Rainmaker GPT or something like that?
No, but that's what Wrapped is. So
Wrapped. Okay.
Yeah, WRAPPT, Wrapped.ai is the domain. And so what we've done is there's Rainmaker.wrapped.ai, and when I give that URL to someone, it has the Rainmaker logo, it has our colors, and then there's a login screen. And now my clients can actually create an account, they can log in, and now all 3 of those GPTs are in the dashboard, and they can actually click into a GPT and start using the messages.
And it's all powered by OpenAI.
Yep. That's the one that we're using right now. OpenAI is on the back end, so we're just using that API. But the instructions I just copied out of ChatGPT, my custom GPT, and I just pasted it into Wrapped where the instructions go, and it behaves identically to what was in ChatGPT. But now with Wrapped, I can give people access that I want to have access to it instead of it just being a link anybody can use. I can see who's using it. I can see how often they're using it. The users get a better experience because they're now in the Rainmaker brand. They can see all the GPTs that are available to them. They can click in and out. They can see chat histories. They can go back and revisit old chats. It's all stored there. And then if I wanted to, I could even charge my clients to use my GPTs. So if I wanted to charge $5 a month for access, I could actually charge my clients to do that.
Do you see making Wrapped be a GPT customization? You know, MN Blockchain has a member whose job is to tailor Salesforce for her clients, for the companies she works with. And so do you see Wrapped becoming basically a chat GPT or OpenAI customization company?
Right now, the niche market is anybody that's already created a custom GPT in ChatGPT could easily productize and monetize that by using Wrapped. So Wrapped is really just creating a light software layer around their custom GPT. That's what we're going for. I think at some point we would want to.
So you want other developers to use Wrapped to.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of them aren't even developers. They're just people. Like there's this. I've got a beta list now about 35 people that are on our wait list to jump in. And there's this one woman that she created a GPT around suicide prevention. And in the last month, she's had over 200,000 chats. She said they've documented some number of lives saved, things like that, right? But she's not a technology. She's not a developer. I'm not a developer. I don't know how to write code. But with customizing a GPT, you're just kind of using the large language model and you're applying instructions on top of it to create a customized.
So Wrapped will give her a platform.
Exactly, where she could brand it. She could have a URL called suicideprevention.wrap.ai.
Got it.
She could share that out, and then she could allow people to log in, and then they could have their own experience within her product.
Gosh. Yeah. I didn't even think about the potential for that.
Yeah.
Sort of like when, I don't know why this is coming to mind, but tiny URL, right? And URL shortener. Okay, that's a thing. And that's a very small thing, literally and figuratively. Right. Whereas this is I don't even know what to compare it to. It's pretty novel, right? You can you customize Google search? Let's say can you customize Google search so that it's family friendly?
Yeah, there's certain things that you can do with Google search within your account to have it give certain types of response. It's not super customized, but there's definitely filters that you can put into it. But this takes it
up a notch, where you can customize the results.
Yeah, I mean, there's
where it interacts with you.
Yeah, really.
Whereas Google won't interact with you.
Yeah, I mean, Google has Gemini, right, where you
but not just plain Google search.
Exactly. Yeah, right. No, it's fundamentally a different experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So I think that's really what we're trying to do with Wrapped, is just give people more of an ability to productize and monetize the custom GPTs that they're making. And there's different use cases too, where with MN Blockchain, let's say we were going to create an internal custom GPT for the board. Well, if we wanted to create a team account and give each person access to that, so it's not just an open URL anybody can see, it costs $20 a month for each of us to have access to that MN Blockchain team account. Whereas with Wrapped, with our pricing model, it's $12 a month, and you can invite anybody you want. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but if you want to start charging people, you can. But then you could have the MN Blockchain GPT where the board all has access, and it's, I'd give it to us for free, but only $12 a month, and you could also potentially save money versus doing it through like ChatGPT. So I think there's different implications of it. But the main thing we're going for is really just allowing people to have a discrete location where their GPTs can live and ensure that they're giving the kind of experience that they want to their users. And then you get all kinds of analytics data as well. Like you could take a look and say, who are all the people using this GPT? How often are they using it? What are the most common
What does GPT stand for?
Generative Pre-trained Transformer. The only reason why I know it is because
that's worse than NFT.
I tried memorizing it, and then I'm just like, well, I love Transformers, like the toys and the cartoon when I growing up. So I just got to remember generative pre-trained. So yeah, generative pre-trained transformer. Yeah. GPT is a lot easier to remember.
Generative pre-trained Optimus Prime.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So what the last thing I do want to say just about AI in general, and part of my mission with Wrapped is I am worried that there's going to be a lot of job displacement with AI.
Yeah.
And especially as it pertains to like knowledge workers.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff that you can do to have GPTs, look at documents and do analysis on it, be able to take pictures and understand like what's in the picture to give you suggestions and working back and forth. More and more people are going to start adopting this kind of technology. And so the solopreneurs, the founders, those people that are trying to build businesses, it's not an option not to start embracing AI as a companion for your business model. It's a necessity. You're gonna get eaten up if you don't. But that whole lens that I talked about with Rainmaker, where I have this very specific knowledge around how to use LinkedIn in ways that the AIs just don't have, I'm using those GPTs as a companion to my business. And that's how, I don't care whether you're a consultant or you're in the professional services, even, if you're providing certain kinds of like productized services or whatnot, like you have to start adopting AI. You have to start customizing it and utilizing it in your business because AI is just too helpful. It's too useful. And so you want to ensure that you're growing with it. And so with Wrapped, right now we're talking about GPTs. Another thing that's becoming bigger and bigger are agents, right? AI agents that they're not just talking back and forth. They're actually going out onto the internet and doing things for you, right? It could be booking a trip for you and buying the tickets and doing all these things, right? So by getting into the game now and starting to adopt AI into how your business operates, and doing it with simpler things like GPTs, it's starting to walk you up into embracing the other types of AI technology that will inevitably come.
It sounds like the internet 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, where you would be sitting where you are now, letting people know, hey, business, you got to get on the internet. You got to get online. You got to post. Like, look at Frankie's Pizza that he's got posts going out. They got, of course, they have a website. You got to take orders online. You got to put out some social media posts and have a presence there. Email lists, send people coupons, all these ways that the internet can facilitate marketing and commerce. Now you're making that same pitch that businesses need to embrace AI. Is that accurate?
It is. Like, I don't think it's something that you can put off. Like, you need to start adopting it like now, because when you think about the amount of human intellect, capital, and energy going into AI, it's just growing at such an exponential rate that you have to start embracing, because it's not going to go away and it's not going to slow down.
This is especially true for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's especially true for anyone, regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're working for somebody.
But if you're trying to get your small business out there and you want it to scale.
Yeah, but I think AI is a great way for you to start differentiating, because a lot of your competitors aren't doing this yet.
Yeah.
But they will, and you're going to probably start to see some disruption where people that aren't even in your industry will come in with like AI GPTs and agents and stuff like that, and they'll just start eating your industry if they're not starting to adopt. So yeah, I think it's absolutely imperative that your business, especially if it's a knowledge-based business, starts to adopt these tools.
So remember I said I'll hold that question till later. That was my question. I was going to go right into that, but I'm glad we took the long way around so you could share more about you and your work. It was, is there a way to, see, when you were discussing integrating AI, I was considering like, well, you see some of my posts about the work I do in my journalism, right? But any like, say influencer, if you're on X or you see that one guy, who's the guy on LinkedIn who's always posting the Web3 stuff? He's kind of become the guy to do that. Young guy, I think he's got good hair, good looking dude. I can picture him, but I don't see him.
Do you know the name of his?
He's become, I can't remember his name, but he's become kind of the Web3 news guy. And so he'll put out these long posts about everything new in blockchain, Web3. Maybe there's more than one of him, probably. Anyway, I think about people like that, and I wonder, does that person need to embrace AI to maybe draft their content, to post their content automatically? I don't know. Is that a different category of business? That
Yeah, I mean, I think you still want to be authentic. So like he could use AI to like do some type of, analysis or research or whatever, and have that, start to inform, posts that he's doing. And, even using AI to help draft like initial, posts, thoughts is fine. You just don't want to, do it once and then just paste it, right? You want to make it yours. You want to ensure that it's accurate and that it represents truly what it is that you want to say. But, yeah,
what I'm wondering is like, if there are categories of business that are more in need of AI than others.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're a poet, let's say you're a poet.
Yeah.
If any of those exist anymore. It's kind of the anti-AI, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, it doesn't mean that you couldn't, like, if you're a poet and you want to write, some poetry around like trees, okay, and you might want to go to ChatGPT and say, what are the oldest living trees on the planet?
Okay.
And then maybe it pulls up redwoods, or I forget the one that, they live for hundreds or thousands of years, right? So now you're like, okay, so I'm going to write a poem about this particular tree because this is where my mind was going. But now you have at least a data point saying
an idea generator.
Yeah, no, someone like me that has, ADHD. It's been a game changer. It's great, just having it as just an assistant, something.
Plus, the
that
AI
I can go
could
back.
help the poet with their social media posts.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, or their email if they market themselves that way. I'm just kind of curious about like, there are still woodworkers, even though there are manufacturers that use robots to create statues. There's still guys out there with chainsaws and chisels out there making stuff out of tree trunks.
No, there's very much real world application of things, but one of my clients has a software product for the film industry, and events, but mostly like film and plays, musicals, those kinds of things where you have a bunch of staff, you have a bunch of actors and actresses and all of this stuff. Anyway, he's down in California for a couple of weeks, and he says, the mood isn't great down there right now, and part of the worries is AI and things like that. My great grandpa, he raised my grandpa in Hollywood, California, and my great grandpa worked for Disney and did some of the ships for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. They don't make wood ships like that anymore. Right? Like his craft, he might be able to find buyers, but they're not using them in movies anymore.
Right.
And so I think there's always going to be a need for real world, manifestations, whether it's through artwork and, or whether it's, building a house that's not using robots, it's using people. Like a lot of the safest jobs are probably being a plumber and electrician, those kinds of jobs. But I think things are going to be drastically changed in the next 5 years, even as it pertains to things like film. Do you really care if it's real humans in a movie that makes you cry or that has amazing, plot line and, imagery and whatnot? I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I went to a musical last week in person, right? That's
live
that's
is different.
safe. Live is safe.
Live is safe.
But and I think also kind of the grip that Hollywood has had on the kinds of movies that get made and all that, that's going to fundamentally change.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be people, in some small town in the middle of nowhere that using AI could create some amazing movie based off of, AI and what's going through their head. And someday AI is going to probably make those movies all by itself.
I thought of that. Like, people are complaining about how Disney or the studio ruined Snow White or they ruined The Little Mermaid. And it's like, look, they just made a movie.
Yeah.
How about in the future? And then I envisioned a future where you make your own Little Mermaid. You make your own Snow White. The problem is that Disney has a monopoly on Snow White, and that has to do with their copyright, and they have to trademark the copyright to use Snow White.
Yep.
But, I mean, what if some dude in Thailand makes his own Snow White and it just is amazing?
Right.
Suddenly that's the Snow White.
Yeah.
And no one cares about the Disney Snow White.
Right. They probably legally, it's probably not worth a challenge if it's made over there. And then he's probably just getting paid in some type of crypto. And how are you going to stop that?
Right. Right. So I like the disbursement. And I also look to, like, I went on TikTok and pushed back on the AI hate a little bit. Not that I don't understand the concerns, and not that I don't sympathize with people whose jobs are threatened, but as a creator, I mean, I have a certain level of threat too, with the work that I do as a writer and a storyteller. But I also thought of, because when I grew up, I was a drummer in high school and college. Well, in the 80s, they had, I don't know what year, the drum machine came out, right?
Oh,
and now
sure,
it's like, let's just play this beat. Like, how many drummers lost jobs because of that? How many brass sections lost work because of synthesizers?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's just part of technology.
Yep.
That's always been that way. And this just seems like the latest manifestation of that, for good or for bad.
Yep. No, I think it is going to be for good and for bad, and we'll have to see where it goes. I don't think anybody truly knows, but that whole of where it goes and the implications would be another time, another place.
But what I really like about your work is that it's not just highfalutin Joe Rogan, like, in 10 years, or, big picture stuff. Oh, Hollywood's done. Oh, no. You're like actually doing the incremental integration of AI, like the GPT thing.
Right.
Like, when you told me that a couple weeks ago, I didn't know that even existed. That you could customize your GPT.
Right.
And it's like, what are the implications of that? That we're going to have these specific, siloed, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Siloed has a negative connotation now, but these little customizable AIs that allow for just an appropriate interactive experience to help people through something, whether it's to learn something, whether it's to cope if they're in a suicide situation. I suppose you might say it's the customer service AI bots, which have been out for a bit.
Sure.
Right? When you go on a web page and, hi, I'm Sally, the AI.
Yep.
But that's just really taking it up a notch, and that's pretty fascinating to think about, because it's happening now. It's not just some 10-year down the road thing. It's
right.
It's right
well,
here.
That's why I think instead of making it hard for yourself, where you're going from 0 to 10 in terms of difficulty, going from 0 to 1, where you start to build out your own custom GPTs, identify a pain point or identify a reason why you're building it. It could be for fun or it could be for a business purpose, but, identify the why you're building it, and then start building out the instructions, which is really, easy to do, and then start looking at the output. And, AIs have a tendency to hallucinate or not get things right. So you need to continue to kind of hone the instructions to get it to perform the way that you want. But it's a great way to start leaning into the tech without it feeling, so difficult that
it was just a natural offshoot of what you were already doing.
Exactly.
So it was just a real organic
for me, it
evolution
was
of integrating this AI tech to grow your business. And
Exactly.
It's a clear-cut benefit
Yep.
of growing your business, benefiting more clients
That's right.
in a scalable way.
Yep. And it actually, they get a better result, and it's saving me a ton of time
And
because
now
I'm not
the
having to do
suicide
it.
prevention lady can get
Right.
service as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, I was always a little bit kind of hesitant to get into it, but I'd say probably about 9-10 months ago, I just jumped in and started using it, and I found it to be incredibly useful, both personally and professionally. So certainly thinking about, like, would there be any kind of like a MN blockchain type of a GPT that we would want to have that maybe is, certainly could talk about, crypto blockchain in general ways, but could start really talking about, some specifics around, like, our community.
Yeah,
and what
we
it
could
means to be in our
brainstorm on
community.
that. And I'm betting listeners could just think about, like, God, yeah, what if I could have my own customized GPT? What would I? That's a really fascinating topic. Just that one little aspect of AI right there. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. Well, we're about out of time.
Yeah.
So, gotta put a stop to this. But that's a really great kind of, I think, endpoint where, it's kind of a cliffhanger in a way. Like, gosh, yeah, what could we do to, if you could have your own GPT? Maybe some people will comment on YouTube or something like that, how they're using that particular feature of AI. That's really cool. And then they can reach out to you. We'll have your contact info in the description and under your picture in the video. So
love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always happy to give time to other builders, whether it's LinkedIn or whether it's around kind of custom GPTs. I'm happy to chat about either of those topics with anybody that would ever want to reach out and chat.
Clearly, you're here.
I am.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thanks so much for having me, Brandon.
Our pleasure.
And thank you for guiding MN Blockchain.
Yep. It's been a good run. It's going well.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.